All right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about the fall equinox. We're also going to talk about a little bit of Mabon, one of the Wiccan holidays. This is Libra season for my people who are astrology driven. I am looking to make sure that if you catch in this live with me, we're going to take a little questions. If not, check them in the replay. I kind of wanted to make sure I pinned a comment. What was my question? All right. What intentions, and this is my first question, what intentions are under review and require a deep pause to balance out your masculine / feminine energy. So I wonder if I can pen this. I should have pressed copy and paste. It's not letting me pen it. Oh, pen it. Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm like halfway live illiterate on Instagram. So thank you for the peace and the patience. So that's my question for you right there. What intentions are under review and require a deep pause to balance out your masculine and your feminine energy? We all know Libra is one of those signs that are looking to balance, okay, the left and the right, what's right morally versus wrong, okay? Taking into account this person's side and taking into account your own side. This season is really asking us to go ahead and introspect, to slow down, to not be so directly impulsive, okay? You really want to take your time and realize that the best way to benefit during Libra season is to understand the shadow being Aries, okay? And Aries might go ahead and run and jump and do something very quickly off of pure instinct. Okay, cool. This is something that we know. But there's consequences to not taking the time, especially when you're energetically in the season, like the fall, where the sun and the moon and the night and the day start to have equal time sharing the sky. The sun representing the masculine, the moon representing the feminine. And Libra looking to go ahead and find that equilibrium in the middle. This is the time frame where it's darker. We need to understand that once Virgo season is over, Libra begins the descent into darkness. And so by the time we get to Scorpio season, it's only going to get darker. And like I said, anybody that wants to join in and really share some of their personal revelations on this live, feel free to do it. You can send a request. I see Reyes in here. I would love to have you. So this is the time frame where we need to understand that we're going into a darker season. Once Libra comes, this is really where the sun begins to set. So it's right at that point where we're balancing out and the sun is setting. So it's not fully dark yet. It's just equal, coming from specifically the spring equinox leading into the brightest days being the summer solstice, right? But this fall equinox is now that next major change of the season. We're now going on a side mission. And this is what I like to think about it. Okay, when you look at the full year, us bringing ourselves back to the spring equinox next year, when we're light, we're vibrant, we're ready to go, we need to understand that in Mabon and fall equinox, this is that time for the second harvest. And shout out to Eileen, the Mexican Bruja. She really was the one to remind me and tell me about that. It's the second harvest. So Virgo is harvest season. When I say harvest, I mean just an earth energy where we get to really get in tune with what we have. All right, we get in tune with what we have, what we earned. You look and you check your crops, okay? And like I said, for either of the people that's on here, feel free. If you want to join in live and you want to share some of your personal experience on this question down below on what intentions are under review and require a deep pause to balance out your masculine and your feminine energy so that you can look at your goals and pursue them not just with intention, but with tact, with intelligence, okay? Checking in with the initial impulse that you may have and being a master at pausing on that impulse and utilizing your energy appropriately. Because when we say second harvest, we're leaning towards the winter solstice, which is now the darkest of the year. This is the devil card in tarot. This is Capricorn season. Very grim, very depressive energy. So we need to understand that as this fall equinox started, it started with the sun in Libra, a masculine, and the moon in its fall detriment in Capricorn. Very depressed energy. Very much looking at how is your reputation, your status, your family, your parental restrictions, how did they limit your emotional instincts as well as necessities to feel safe in order to do blah, 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 blah. So, you got to look at where Capricorn is in your area. So definitely feel free to also, if you're in here, check in and drop down your Libra sign in the chat, and maybe we can give some little insight. But with that said, we need to understand that this is that midway check-in point. This is that side mission that says, hey, look, before you go to the deepest, darkest part of your goals, your ambitions, okay, your entire life system as a whole, you have the chance and opportunity to be intentional. So that if you save your resources, if you take in like a squirrel who collects all their nuts before the winter comes and they're not going to be able to eat, if you look at and assess, okay, with a very clear mind, what do I have? How long can this last me? Is my intention on track? Am I holding on to something to please another, to acquiesce? Am I behaving in a certain way that is actually not true to me, that's not authentic, but I'm doing it anyways? These are some very potent questions. You really want to take the time while we're in this fall equinox to slow down and slow your roll. So I see more have joined in. Like I said, if you want to join this live, if you're prepared, it's a little impromptu, sure, but feel free to join in. All right. And one, you can share what and how can you support another through checking in with your intentions that are currently under review, where you may not need to push and work harder. You really, in this harvest season, want to realize, what do you have to be grateful for? What resources do you have that will carry you not only from now, but beginning to push you into the winter solstice, which again, we're at this dark period. This is the devil energy. Material temptations is at its all-time high. But before we get there, we must understand that there is a relationship between Libra and Capricorn. And that relationship is a lot in the reputation spaces of what connections do you use that can help balance out what you may lack, okay, while trying to figure out how to do that while still being and maintaining integrity. And that's not always an easy thing to do, because during this Mabon season, we must really look at, okay, who we are and our shadow parts of our own identity. The shadow parts of which part of our ego just runs and jumps and takes any and every opportunity, any and every advancement of the career, any and every advancement through a social relationship or connection that may seem like they, on the outward appearance, are worth something. That they may have money, they may have followers, they may wear jewelry and present a certain bling. They may be in the spiritual community and have crystals all over their neck and hands. And that may make you believe that you can go to this person for healing or for a service in the medicinal spaces around revolving around spirituality or some facet of spirituality. But it's like, is that person really who they say they are? Are they who they look like they seem to be? And so when we take the time to take a deep pause at this time frame, understand that things are not going to move as quickly. We are already in multiple retrograde seasons. You may feel a little more optimistic now that in 7 more days, Mercury will go on the 30th, not just visible, but out of its shadow period. So your mind is starting to get and become a little sharper But understand that it's sharper right now during this equinox because we have gotten rid of a lot of things that truly do not matter. A lot of skills we are now aware of. We are leaving the Virgo intern energy, who will hermit now and has been on waiting for their inspired moment, essentially for God to speak through their physical earthly vessel as an oracle to tell them what to do, when to do that. Now, if you embrace this Virgo season and you did a lot of that and you got in tune with that, you are already basically 10 steps ahead of 90% of the people in your immediate environment, or maybe you're all together, because Libra is these groups, it's these tribes. And we must understand that during this season, a lot of relationships that are forming and are trying to connect with you may not actually be trying to connect with you for pure intentions or pure reasons. And even if their intentions are pure, it may not truly be aligned with what your goals, ambitions, and even anxieties are trying to warn you about. So what's going to happen is you're going to be put in this season into a lot of situations where you may get an eerie feeling in your body or an overwhelming amount of anxiety and worry in your mind when somebody asks you for a favor. Libra is the king of favors. I will give you this if you give me that. And it's very important to realize that you don't need to jump. This is the shadow of Libra coming back in that Aries energy. And eventually, I do believe Jupiter will go back into Aries. So that's a time frame you want to watch out for. Now, this is less of an astrological report, so I'm not going to get deep into the astrology. This is me looking at this from the fall equinox in Mabon. So when you get put in a situation, you must be mindful of intellectual manipulation during Libra season, because Libra energy, Mars in Libra, very soon going to be, I think on October 4th, conjunct the South Node. You will literally project what you have not internally decided to pause, take this deep pause and work on, as for balancing out your masculine and your feminine. So what that looks like in application is you got this dark feminine energy and she's trying to destroy the certain people and relationships and habits and tendencies to want to connect with somebody because you think they're going to bring you somewhere closer to your goal. And that's not necessarily bad. Can you do that in integrity? Can you do that with authenticity? And you can't do that if you've never taken the time to have that deep introspection and pause on, what does integrity mean to me? Well, actually, I don't really know. I know what integrity means to my parents. I know what integrity means to the groups that I've been affiliating with. But when I'm being honest, I just kind of blend in with everybody there. Let's say if I'm an astrologer, I just look to blend in with other astrologers and not actually really stand out. Because as long as I'm a part of this clique, I'm going to go somewhere because that person or that group is going somewhere. And that has detrimental consequences that generally we start to face when the material temptation of that devil card comes heavy in the winter time, where now you might find yourself buying somebody a gift because you think it will give you some clout, some attention, some reward in return, because, well, I did this for you and you're supposed to do this for me. And what you're going to find is you're going to externally project these supposed to's, and it's going to become very triggering and even offensive from the person across from you who looks like they're attacking you or not honoring you. And the question is, have you honored yourself? Because we must understand that the North Node during this equinox, this year in 2023, it is in Aries, which means you must choose personal satisfaction. You must take a deeper look at what instinctively feels good to me. Does this relationship I'm in turn my gut and make me feel sick to my stomach? If it does, do I have the courage to pause and realize I do not need to move forward in this dynamic? I can just sit there and weigh out the options and weigh out the necessities. What do I need for this second harvest, which is Mabon/fall equinox? The second harvest, meaning the first harvest has already come, meaning what you walk away with and store as for your chips being food, resources, money, things that matter, things that you need. You can look at the area of Libra in your chart and you can better understand that. If I'm in the 12th house, for me, for example, as a Scorpio rising, it's like really making sure that I don't overgive and pour out so compassionately that I become disillusioned on the relationships that I'm with. Not wanting to connect with people so badly that I put somebody and give them the resources and the appreciation, the gratitude, and essentially the status of being my friend when they're just not. That's something for a Libra 12th house, for example, that I need to always make sure to be mindful of, because it's something in a trap that without this deep pause to balance out the equal night and day, the masculine and the feminine, who now can bring in the masculine and say, Pernell, I need you to look at this very clearly and with a little bit more logic. And not just this bleeding feminine heart in this particular instance. Not just this heart that's gentle and compassionate and wants to pour into everybody, all of humanity. But I must be very mindful of who I choose to pour into on a one-on-one relationship. Because there's this collective humanitarian thing, let's say 12th house again, that I'm here for when it comes to how I relate and try to walk out of relationships in a balanced manner. But I must understand that without that deep pause and introspection, that, well, this is beginning to take away joy, satisfaction, a deep sense of renewal, as for this is an actual balanced relationship. And we're clear on what we're giving each other. I am being clear that, hey, are you okay with me staying with you for this week, and in exchange, I can't do blah. And the key is to be willing to have a disagreement and say, listen, actually, I don't want your money. I am okay with you staying, but your money is actually not any good here. What you can do for me is promote this event. I really care about my artistic endeavors, and I'm getting ready to host a paint workshop, or realistically for me, I'm getting ready to run the Sacred Innovators retreat with my partner Eileen. So instead of giving me money to stay here or use my things, resources, whatever they are, and my drum, I'd rather you promote my retreat. Do you feel that's fair? I understand you have an audience. I understand you have a large network, specifically with people who might enjoy a retreat. So, would you mind making an announcement on your page? And all you need to do is share my link to the PDF and tell them, look, you have to apply if this feels good to your digestive and your nervous system. If this feels good to your nervous system, then go ahead and share that. And in exchange, you can stay at my apartment rent-free while I'm not there. Are we good? And maybe they agree and they meant it. And it's better for you than taking their money, and it means more to you. Or maybe they disagree. And you must, during this time frame, when you look at this fall equinox, realize and accept that, one, it's okay for them to disagree. Step one. Step two, realize that if you disagree, it does not mean that the negotiation is over. It means now you hit them with a counter offer. Okay, well, I see that you don't feel comfortable, you don't know me well enough to promote my retreat. I got it. That's okay. And I don't feel like I want any money in this instance. Okay, so why don't you tell me what would satisfy you that you've seen that I may be able to offer? So again, this is Libra, let's say maybe at its best. I don't really want to say at its best, but as an example of its ability to negotiate, to be a lawyer, to find the silver lining, and how do you make yourself happy first, which requires you to take this Mabon season, the second harvest, to look at all the resources and the things you have. And then when you get in tune with that, you already know what you can offer as a counter, where you don't need to get caught in the moment and basically stress out and have a panic attack and try to do this and start juggling, and then you give them something or you promise something that now, because you promised, you have to go through with it. Even though you don't have to go through with it, but your conditioning says, yes, I do. So you go through with it and you betray yourself and you betray your own integrity because you didn't get in tune with slowing down, taking a deep pause and realizing, well, what is my integrity separate from my parents? Considering that Libra is Venus ruled and Venus is in Leo still. We went through this retrograde already, and Leo is trying to separate itself from the authority, individuate itself, be the charismatic outsider. And that's what we're being asked for. If Venus was in Cancer, this would be an entirely different story. So, my question for you is, what intentions do you have, and it's pinned in the comments, that are under review? And again, if you would like to join this live and share some personal insights about how the fall equinox is impacting you, or what you understand about it, something that I may have missed, something that I may not have covered at all, something that I did cover that you want to elaborate on, this is the second harvest. Count your chips. Take more time for art. So, for example, I've already begun, I don't know if you can see anything, I've already begun my next piece and I've been sketching, right? And so through that, art and Libra have the potential and the ability to be the mediator of divinity and communicate angelic messages that ride on the wind. Another thing you may realize is something called energetic sickness. And you may realize that in your relationships, it doesn't matter what pill you take, what doctor you go to, what old addiction you may have, and how you may have handled it, because Venus can represent our addictions, and boom, Leo is still there, which is the party. And Libra and Leo love to party, especially with the biggest of the bigs. Understand that Libra is just that point that because we're so in tune with our heart space at this point, and we're moving from this Leo heart space, we now have the potential with Libra energy to be the professional, okay? Because Leo is getting in tune with that inner authority. Virgo is now being the intern and starting to try to humble itself. And then now that it has humbled itself, Libra can come back out in a balanced way between their ability to push and assert and be clear and have a one-line stream focused of energy, but also balance out being receptive and still open to new ideas, to new concepts, to new relationships, to a new form of a value, to open to a new value that may actually form and push forward a completely new angular relationship and bond that is beyond beneficial, okay, mutually. Now, when we get to all of this, understand that Libra is the professional. So you're now out in the world, okay? You're out in the world. You're going to attract new people. Every Libra season, you meet new people. You meet new groups. You start bonding with different associations, okay? You start wanting to try new artistic skills. Things that may even be physically active. Today, I got invited twice to do disc golf. Golf disc. I don't even know what it's called. Literally, I don't know what it's called. But I was thinking to myself, this could be a nice different switch up of an activity. Rather than playing basketball every Saturday or Tuesday, I can go play disc golf. It's brand new. I'm going to meet a new group of people. That's a fact. I'm looking at Casa Diosa. I don't know if they watch this, if they're in here, they're in Guadalajara. They run yoga events and meditations and sound healings. This is a different group of people in the spiritual community. Okay, I've been thinking about this. I've had these intentions already. And I understand that yoga can help me with the introspection phase, right? So I can go with this group, meet a new group of people while still fulfilling my intentions to pause and respect and heal and nurture my body through the energetic sickness, aka when you give more light to another in any healing session or discussion or relationship than you have to offer, where you then need to go ahead and recharge, aka second harvest, fall equinox, with nature. Venus, once again, or Saturn, earthly energy, cold and dry. So, considering there has been no one who wanted to join in, if you do want to join in, this is the time, because otherwise, I'm done with this message, and I just wanted to give y'all a little baby update on how you can best use these energies in this Mabon season with the fall equinox, understanding it's the second harvest. For my Scorpios out there, especially Scorpio risings, okay, you are like at the pinnacle of your 11th house, and the Virgo energy is getting ready to leave, and you're going into the 12th house. So again, take your trips. You may be going up right now, but be mindful of how much you use, how much you spend. Okay, you got to save this for and leading towards the winter season, when it gets cold and dry outside and the ground is not so easy and not so fertile to birth a new idea or a new concept. All right. And for everybody else's report, I don't know you. So that's just all I got. All right. That said, thank you. Hit the thumbs up and the likes button. All right. And subscribe if you're catching this replay on YouTube. That said, I want to say thank you for being here. Ciao.